Okay.
Okay, ready? I just want to tell people that have sessions what time their sessions are, so we're done with that.
Okay.
You like that? Yeah. Okay, everybody, we're back. Take a breath. Just reconnect to the energy. I'm just going to read those people. There are 5 people that have private sessions. The sessions will take place in that office tomorrow. I'm going to give you your time. So when you hear your time, take a breath, because it's not your time and I'm going to try to change it. It's your time. All right. Janice Pierce is at 9 a.m. Sarah is at 10 a.m., you know. Sharon Yabar is at 11 a.m. Linda Woods is at 1:30. And Christine Michael, it's... Now, that was the question because the way it came up on the thing, it's probably you. Did you sign up for one? No, then it isn't. Okay. But if it don't show up, it might be.
I know. Wow, what a beautiful guess.
So, and that's at 2:30. So if any of the names that I've called can't make it at that time, can't make it, that's the only people that I'll need to see. Okay, because then I can give that session to somebody else if somebody else needs it. Okay? I love you. I love you.
Yes.
Will CDs be available of this talk?
Yes.
I am going to send CDs to, is it EJ? AJ? IJ? OJ? EJ. Okay, so I'm going to send 2 CDs. Once I get back to Princeton, I'm going to send 2 CDs back. And then whatever you choose to do with them is up to you. But we will have, I am recording this and I will send it down here, and then it's up to you guys to figure out how to. And hopefully you won't require them.
I don't need to take notes then.
No, we don't need to take notes, ever.
Oh, yes, I do.
No, it's useful. It's useful sometimes. It's useful to take notes. Okay, so we were talking about early on about this nutrition, right? And the nutrition that we've been discussing right now has been the nutrition for the development of the emotional body. Because our emotional body, like our physical and mental body, requires development. It doesn't just grow, right? And so our mental body develops because we get put in a mental institution and develops our mental body, right? That's what we call it school. Then our physical our physical body develops because we eat the basics of nutrition, and so our physical body develops. But our emotional body doesn't develop if it's not developed consciously, right? And that's why I say that girls usually, at the age of 13 or 14, girls are usually more mature than boys. Because maturity is an emotional thing. Maturity is the emotional aspect of our growth, right? So if someone says, well, I'm 36, but I feel like I'm 20, that means that they're kind of giving you a hint of their emotional development, right? When you're 36, you want to feel 36, own it. If you're 50, you want to feel 50, own it. You want to feel emotionally that you have had 50 years of crime and punishment. So we're looking at now at emotional nutrition, the growth of the emotional body, because the emotional nutrition is very important, because the awakening of our feeling capacity is the capacity that enables us to engage with the vibrational. What we have called in the metaphysical world the spiritual, which really it's very hard to say what that is. It can mean anything for a number of things, you know, and soon the religions will get hold of it, and then, you know. So the word vibrational is actually easier to work with because it tells us something about the vibrational. It's a vibration. Peace is a vibration. Love is a vibration. These are vibrations that already exist. We don't have to make them happen. We don't have to make a spiritual experience happen. If we're involved in any doing to make something spiritual happen, throw it up, because you're not going to get anywhere, right? The vibrational already exists. Heaven is now at hand. It already exists. The most important thing is to develop the capacity to realize it. And the mental body can't realize it, and the physical can only realize it through the emotional, through the vibration of the emotional, what's going on in the emotional. So think of a radiance from the sun of the vibrational. That inner sun radiates. It radiates through the emotional, through the mental, and upon the physical. Upon the physical. So love can be expressed physically. Love can be communicated mentally. Love can be felt emotionally. But love itself is a vibration that radiates. And our predicament is this. Whatever the condition of the emotional body, because the emotional body is the lens between the vibrational and the mental and the physical, whatever the condition of the emotional body, that's the condition in which the vibrational appears to us. So peace in Iraq appears as what we see in Iraq now. That's really peace, as it is projected through the emotional bodies of everyone involved in that particular experience. If my emotional body is distorted in a certain way, then as the vibration of peace moves through it, the peace is still there. It itself becomes distorted and distorts into mental forms that are distorted and into physical circumstances that reflect that distortion. It doesn't mean the peace isn't there. There's always peace. Iraq is at peace. Take all the people away and you'll see how peaceful it is. The peace is there. It's either realized or obscured. And what obscures it is the condition of the emotional, collective emotional body involved in that experience. So the first thing to do, the first step, and this is the part of the journey, this is why I say the metaphysical is over. The trying to understand, it's over. Right? This part of the journey can't be understood. It has to be entered as a direct experience. The only thing to understand is it's time to get a little bit emotional. Right? And to awaken and grow the emotional body, which many of us have already been involved in. We already got that emotional growth is where we have to go. But many of us may have made the mistake. Well, it's not a mistake, and nothing is a mistake. When we enter the emotional body, it's usually so blocked up and so uncomfortable that our first step is emotional release. We do emotional release work. But if we stay with emotional release work, we will stay there forever, right? Releasing. In fact, when we get upset, that's emotional release. It's just that we don't realize it. So we're going to do this emotional release consciously, right? I'm going to get a cushion. I'm going to go, that's my daddy. And I get a stick, right? And I beat it. Right? And I'll feel better afterwards. Yeah. I get some clarity. Wow. Right? But it actually doesn't resolve anything. Because resolution requires alchemy. Resolution requires alchemy, the process of alchemy. It's like a pressure cooker. The food is only going to cook at a particular pressure. If we keep taking the lid off the pot, the food will not cook. It's time to cook. It's time to cook, right? And so my telling the story, my coming into behavior and handing in my resignation, all of this is taking the lid off the pot. I feel better because I've let off some steam, right? I let off some steam. Because I felt like I was going to blow my lid when I walked past the door, right? But there comes a point where I want to awaken my emotional body, and release doesn't do it. Release enables me just to keep functioning in some sort of way, right? So if I do conscious emotional release work, it is useful initially, but then the next level is containment. Containment. And containment is what alchemy is. Containment is when I realize that the emotional signature of this experience between me and the encounter with my boss, it's the emotional signature that is the memory. So I do the first 6 chapters of the presence process and I get this mentally. Now I get, you are just a messenger. The message is that I'm angry. The causal point of that is this feeling in my body. I have to go there and be with it without condition. To be with it without condition. In other words, to remove the sedation and control that I've been placing on it. To stop the manipulation of it, right? And so, initially, even if I know that, I'm still going to react. Okay, I got this. I read it in a book. I've been doing my breathing, and I walk past, and I look in the office, and he goes like this to me, and I still get upset. And the first level of the journey is I still get upset, and I'll go, well, I don't deserve this. And by the time I get in my office, I've been there 15 minutes and really upset, and suddenly I realize, whoa, I got triggered. Wow, I didn't even see that. Why? Because I was in an altered state. Never beat yourself up about reacting. Never beat yourself up about reacting. These are ancient memories. They're very powerful. And when they rise up, we go unconscious. The game is, how quickly can I regain consciousness in that state? Right? How quickly can I regain consciousness? So first of all, it might be an hour later, right, that I regain consciousness. Then, you know what it's like? You've done it before. You get that email. It really annoys you. How dare they? And I go, send it back, right? Oh, no, get back, no. Don't ever beat yourself up about that. It's pointless. Right? When it's a teapot, it's a teapot. There's nothing you can do about it. So that's the first step, is only after I react do I realize it was a reaction. And then I'm doing my breathing or whatever work I'm doing to assist me to gain presence in this moment. There's many ways, and they're all valid. Whatever works best for me. And then I'll get to a point that I'll walk past the door, I'll look at you, and as I'm going, or it'll look like this. I walk into the office, no, I've had enough of this, right? You know, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna, it's nothing actually, I'll just. So I catch myself in mid-reaction, right? In the middle of it, I get, hang on, I'm being set up here. This is gonna, I'm about to be an idiot right here. And then the next level is, I see it coming before it even happens. I know I'm going to walk past the door. I know he's going to look at me like this, right? I know I'm going to get angry. And I know it before I even get there. So I walk past, it still happens, I still get angry. Because the anger is valid. When we get upset, it's valid. But in that moment, are we going to react or respond to it? Are we going to evolve or evolve? Right? So the upset is valid. How I feel is valid. I can promise you, you are never going to get upset and not feel upset. Do not try to evolve beyond that stage, because it's always going to happen. When anger is brought up to be cleansed, you will feel angry, because it's the feeling of it that is the healing of it. It's just how we respond or react to the feeling. The feeling is the awareness of that memory coming into full awareness, right? But now we want to contain it. Containment means I'm not going to sedate it. I'm not going to control it. I'm not going to try and feel any other way than I'm feeling. I'm going to allow myself to feel the anger. However, I'm not going to tell the story. And even if the story gets told, I'm not going to believe it. Right? Because the mental body goes, I know what's going on here. It's his fault, really is, right? And I'm not going to enter the behavior around it. But I'm not going to force myself to not feel how I'm feeling, because how I feel is valid. In fact, it's a gift to me. It's a blessing. It's grace. Someone cares enough that they're going to assist me to cleanse my emotional body. Because I can't even see what's going on inside of there. I need some outside help. It's going to help me out. Right? Those closest to us are going to help us out. They're all ascended masters of helping us out. Right? Right? In the moment they're helping us, it's not very helpful to us. We don't want that sort of help. But it's going to happen because this is part of our journey at the moment. We have to mature our emotional body. Right? So I know this. So during the day at the office, I stay with the anger. It feels uncomfortable. I feel it in my body. It feels sometimes like my muscles are twisting. I feel nauseous. It's hard to be at work, but I stay with it. I stay with it. I even got a meeting with him, and I go and sit in the meeting, and I feel real anger around him, but I know it's not about him, and I just sit with it. I contain it. I allow it to be there. I do my best to show up, because it's hard. The bravest of us are those who go into and do the emotional work. There is no braver work. There is no braver work on the planet. Those are the real warriors. The others just worry. So now I hold it during the day, and it may fade during the day. And that evening I go home and take care of my responsibilities at home, and I sit down. And now I use the physical and mental world to draw on that. And I go, okay, what happened to me today? And I start to remember the image. I walked past the office. He looked at me in that way, and I really hate it when and as I tell the story, the anger comes up again, and I go, okay, story, physical and mental. The physical world has no purpose now. The story has no purpose. Where do I feel this in my being? It's over here, and my hands are buzzing, a bit hot around my face, but I feel a bit nauseous here. Okay, I'm going to be with that. There's an image of the Madonna and the child. That image of the Madonna and the child is the image of containment. It's also the image of compassion. The Madonna is not saying, how did you get here? How old are you? How long are you going to be in my arms? Right? Do I shake you this way or that way? Okay, so the Madonna and the child is containment. It is, I'm going to cradle this in my awareness. I'm going to hold it in my awareness. I'm going to cradle it, because out of the cradle comes the child, the birth. The child returns out of the cradle, right? So I hold it in the cradle and be with it. And initially it may escape out of my awareness, because I'm so used to every time my attention goes onto that feeling, I push it away. I sedate it, I control it. I've invalidated it my whole life. That's why it's come out unconsciously, as symptoms, as encounters in the world that are uncomfortable, as upsetting events in my life. But I hold an awareness of it, and I sit with it. I just be with it. I watch it like I watch a bird in a tree. I watch it the same way I listen to a song on the radio. When we're listening to a song on the radio, we're not trying to change the song. You can't change the song by listening to it. You can't determine the bird's behavior by the way you watch it. It's a complete letting go. I listen to it with my feeling body. I'm listening with the ears of my heart. Feeling is listening with the heart. So I'm listening to that piece of music that I do not like to listen to. I want anything else but to listen to that note, right? And I'm listening to it, and by listening to it, I begin a digestion process. I begin to digest it. And we'll notice the things that upset us are always going to bring us to the things we can't stomach, right? And the things we can't stomach are the things that we now need to digest. So we sit and digest it, right? And for everyone, that will be a different type of experience. Some may get hot and uncomfortable, and some may cry, and some may have flashes of their child. It doesn't matter what unfolds. Whatever experience we have is valid. Our experience is always valid, right? And we sit with it, and for example, in my experience, if I really sit with it, it moves. And sometimes I burp. It's a very weird thing. I like burp. It's like, right? And sometimes I know that it's coming to a point of resolution, because we're not releasing now, we're resolving. And the resolution, I know I'm getting to that point because I start to have, my mental body starts to say things. It says, I can't do this anymore. It's never worked. Life is too hard. I would just rather die. There is no God. It's hopeless, right? Those type of expressions, that is the beginning of the death experience. What is dying is the doer. The doer that was born out of that emotional signature. Because when we left the presence of childhood and entered the pretense of adulthood, right? What the adult is someone trying to do something because the child is dead. Right? The child can't be, so what can I do? My being is not valued. How can my being be valued in the world? Because I live in a world of doers doing things, and they only value doing. And so as I was being as a child, it wasn't valued. It was like, what are you going to do with yourself? No, do this, do that. Oh, you do that very well. I love you for doing that. Oh, now I get love for doing. Okay, so that's right. So that I create a manufacture, an entire identity, an entire person built out of what I do to get what I think I need and want, to be valued somehow on this planet, right? And I manufacture that out of the fear, the anger, and the discomfort, the imprints in my childhood. And so as I sit with this particular imprint, and that begins to die, that part of me begins to die, because I'm not entertaining the doer anymore. I'm not going into the story. I'm not going to the behavior. I am being with it without condition. Now we have a catchphrase in the world that has become so well used we don't even know what it means anymore. Unconditional love. Being without condition is unconditional love. I am being here and I don't need a condition for being with this. I'm not trying to fix it. I'm not trying to understand it. I'm not trying to move it through my chakras. I'm not trying to do any of that, right? I'm simply being with it. It knows. You know when we eat food? If I eat a banana, I don't go, okay, now move to the left, down the colon, right? Add this chemical, add that chemical. Okay, move directly towards the anus, right? I don't do that. I don't have to do that. There's an intelligence that knows all about that stuff, right? It's the same with my emotional body. There is emotional intelligence. Just get out the way. When water comes out the ground, a powerful spring, it does not need a GPS system to find the ocean. Just get out of its way. It will find the ocean. It's the same with these blocked energies. All that's required is to take the condition off it. The sedation and control, which is so unconscious to us we don't even know we're doing it. And to be with it and just allow it to be, it will move to a point of resolution. And I will at some point go through some experience, whatever it is, it's valid for me, and I will know it's come to a point of resolution because I will go through a peak experience and then I will enter a state of peace. And after that, in that state of peace, when I look at him in my mind's eye, I will only feel gratitude. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Right? I would have gained a level of intimacy with myself I never had before. And the mental body says to us, you must understand what's going on before you heal. First you understand, then you heal, right? That's because the mental body believes it's God. It even says, thought creates. Not God, thought, right? I think, therefore I am, right? That's all the mental body's consciousness. Thought doesn't create. Everything that's created is already created. Thought might manufacture it into different forms, but it doesn't create a thing. Everything that's created is already created. Everything that's real anyway and lasting. So, as I go through this experience, what happens is once I go through that shift and into that state of peace, what happens is that anger that I've been suppressing and not wanting to feel, by not wanting to feel it, I've been shutting down that aspect of my feeling body. It's been asleep and dead. No feeling in that capacity. And because I allow myself to feel it, that aspect of my feeling vocabulary, those letters in my feeling, my felt perception awaken. And when they awaken, I can speak more of the feeling language, and the feeling language is called insight. It sees inward towards the vibrational. And so I will receive, after I go through point of resolution, I will receive insight, if it's necessary and if it's required, about what that was about. However that insight comes to me is valid. I may get an image of an interaction I had with my dad when I was 5. Go, oh yeah. And then when I was with that person, and when I went in that job, and all those things are the same. They've all led to the same thing that's been going on all my life. Boom. That's what that was, right? I may have that insight if it's necessary. It's not necessary, it won't be there. But one thing is for sure. When I accomplish resolution through the alchemy of containment, of being with it consciously, it will impact my 3D world. I will change something internally in a way that is so real that it will change my external experience. It will shift something in my outer world that has been, if it's anger, you see, we can't see our fear or our anger or our grief. It's very hard for us to see it, although we're afraid, angry, and sad. We can't really see the impact of it on our experience. It's quite easy. Wherever I cannot make a decision, wherever I'm indecisive about something, I just cannot make my mind up, that is a manifestation, an outer manifestation of inner fear. Wherever in my life I am stuck and there is no movement, because fear is the greatest of all frictions. I mean, anger is the greatest of all frictions. And a train needs friction for the wheels to grip the rail so it can move. It also needs friction to put on the brakes. Anger is the greatest friction we have. If I have unintegrated anger in my being, there are places in my life that the brakes are on. They've always been on, and it's not moving. And no matter what I do, and no matter how many affirmations I do, it still doesn't move. Right? Because that is a manifestation of my anger. It's the same as my grief. My grief are these places. I'm not going to deal with that. Sorry, I don't even talk to that person. I have nothing to do with that. That is just not my business. I don't go there, right? That's a manifestation of my grief. So when I integrate my fear, remember, when I digest this, there are going to be gifts and gems from this emotional food. The nutrition of digesting my fear is I'm able to be discerning in this world. I'm able to stand in the midst of the unfamiliar and make choices that are appropriate for my journey. I'm able to discern. When I'm able to integrate my anger, anger unconsciously is aggression or depression. Consciously, it's assertion. When I integrate my anger, I'm able to assert myself without causing you to close off to me or to offend anyone. I can assert myself in a way that's loud and clear and that the world gives permission for. When I integrate my grief, I can feel this world deeply without falling over balance, without losing my balance. I can feel anything without losing my balance in life, right? But while we don't integrate our anger, we ship it away somewhere else, right? And you can see that we live in one of the angriest countries of the world, this country, right? And you can tell this. There's no expression for anger in this country. You can be afraid, and that's allowed. We have medication for you. You can be sad, and that's allowed. We have even more medication for you, right? But you're not allowed to be angry. And you can try this out in an airport. Right? We don't allow any anger in this country. We export it to Iraq. It's over there. And in our lives, our very individual lives, it's the same thing. I don't allow anger around me. I send it over there. He's my anger. It's got nothing to do with me. He's the one making me angry. And by dealing with him, I'll solve it. It's never the case. But when I contain it and I digest it and I enter that state of peace, because what the peace is, I've returned, that part of my being has returned to the moment. That child, that part of my child's attention is no longer hooked into that unintegrated moment. It's now free to create and play in the world. And there's a peace that comes with that. There's a lightness that comes with that, right? And I know it's true. Because when I go, what will happen is, in this particular example, I'll wake up in the next morning and I'll feel differently about something. I won't quite get what it is because I'm still developing this capacity, this awareness, this insight to see the connection between a causal activity and the consequences. Not doing and results, but causal activity and consequences. And I wake up in the morning and I feel quite calm and I'm just getting on with my day and I arrive at work on time. I haven't even been trying. I'm not even hurrying, right? And I arrive at work on time and I walk past the office and for the first time I see you. I actually see you and I go, hey, good morning, right? Because I'm more intimate with myself, I'm able to be more intimate with you. Intimacy is into me and see, not into you and see, by the way, right? So I'm more intimate with myself and I go, hey, how's it going? And because I'm open to you, you're open to me. It's just a natural, how it is, right? And so we're chatting. And it comes up and you go, well, I say, so how's it been going? And you go, well, I've been having a bit of a problem. I feel a bit embarrassed about this, but I don't know what to do about it. I've got this constipation, right? And it's just really uncomfortable, right? And so I suddenly realize that this face that you've been making, it was just a story I was telling myself. None of it was true, right? And then, if I have, and I may have some insight into that into myself, I go, you know what? I've just been dealing with a lot of anger. I mean, hatred. And I found that when I can't stop hating, I can't have a bowel movement. Can't stop hating. Constipating. Constipating. Because anger is so much friction and so much heat, it dries out my stomach lining, right? So there's going to be a change in the 3D world, the 3D experience, if I apply alchemy. That is the sign of alchemy. The sign of alchemy is that it impacts my 3D experience in a real way. I don't have to imagine it. I don't have to fiddle with it physically. I don't have to do affirmations. I don't have to do any of the metaphysical stuff of trying to understand and all of that. All I have to do is impact the causal point with my state of being. Being without condition, to bring the resonance of being upon the causal point. Being without condition is love. To bring love to the hurt, to that place, in a real and practical way. Bring the radiance of that sun to it. And it knows no order of difficulty. It will bring resolution. And I will see it in my 3D world. And I will gain the nutrition from that emotional digestion. And the nutrition will be developing capacities to be a responsible person in my world. Discernment, assertion, being able to feel things deeply. All sorts of capacities come out of emotional growth. It's very easy to look on the world stage and see who's grown up a little bit emotionally and who's not. It's very easy to tell the benefits of emotional growth if we know how to look at it. But we first have to see it in ourselves. So that's the one type of food. And that type of work is really important because as one of the benefits of that development is that I awaken my feeling capacity. My capacity to feel is awakening. Every time I go through the process of alchemy, I'm more and more waking felt perception. My felt perception is the ability to feel the consequence of my presence in the world. To feel the consequence of my thoughts, words, and deeds before I even put them into play. To feel the connection between the causal point and the consequence. In other words, if I decide to manipulate you, I will immediately feel manipulated. If I decide to cheat you, I will immediately feel cheated. Right? It'll be very hard for me to go up to a flower and mentally, because you know what the analyze do? The analyze go, let's tear this apart and see what it's made of. Right? Cut it to pieces. I want to see what it's made of, right? Because I can't feel what I'm doing. I can't feel what I'm doing. I have no feeling capacity. And when I have no feeling capacity, you better make some laws and rules, because I haven't a clue what the consequences are of my behavior. So you better make laws. But once I develop felt capacity, no one need tell me how to behave, because I can feel the consequence of my behavior in the very moment I choose to initiate it. And that will govern my behavior. The heart will tell me what is appropriate and what is not, right? So developing that capacity is very important. And it's very, see, now we have things like the presence process and alchemy of the heart that assist us to move and do that's about the emotional growth and starting to digest the emotional nutrition. And for those of you that really want to get to the work, because now's the time not to wait for the upset to come. It's really getting to a point where that's going to become too upsetting, right? It's now the time to really participate. And it's very easy to participate, because we can look along the horizon of our lives and we can find 10 things that are upsetting to us. It may be my relationship with my mother, that divorce I never resolved, that physical symptom, that situation I have at work, whatever. My top 10 hits, right? Each one of those things they may be a physical circumstance, they may be a story we tell ourselves, but neither of those are valid. What's valid is that is a means to get to that frequency, that note. Each one of those are a note in a piece of music. They're each a note in a piece of music. And if we write those down on a piece of paper, just one word, mother, work, constipation, whatever it is, right? Each one of those, we write them on a piece of paper. They each represent a feeling. The most important thing is they remind us of a feeling. That's their only purpose. And if we get up every day and we spend no more than 15 minutes and we take out our piece of paper and we look over it, and one or two of those will just jump up as most prominent because those feelings are closer to the surface. And then we take that feeling, where am I feeling it? Be without condition. Just be with it. No more than 15 minutes. 2-3 of those, put the paper away, carry on with my day. Every day for 40 days. That's what I recommend. It takes 40 days to get out of the wilderness, apparently, right? So this is the manna. You want to eat this stuff, right? You want to eat this stuff. Because this stuff that is not being digested is driving us into the doing mentality, right? That is not serving us anymore. That doer has to die. And this is a very conscious way of dying while living. We're going to die daily. I die daily, right? So you get up and you just be without condition at those causal signatures. Just feel them and be with them. Every day for 15 minutes, no more, and carry on with your day. But what you will notice is something quite spectacular. After a while, you will notice things happening around in your world that start bringing resolution to those top 10 hits. And you will not be able to deny that you have done nothing to make that happen. Those movements will not come out of your doing. They will not come out of your doing. And you eventually will not be able to deny that you couldn't have made that phone call happen. You couldn't have caused yourself to bump into that person at the market. You couldn't have made those things happen. There's just too much synchronicity going on. And those situations are enabling me to resolve those points. And it's being brought, I'm receiving what I require to bring resolution to these things without doing anything. In fact, I'm undoing, I'm not doing. Sitting with those notes, that's called not doing. That's the bridge. And that simple practice will enliven our state of being. And what that means is, when I start to see the consequences of being at the causal point of that emotional signature, and that it brings what I require to resolve it, not through my doing, but the universe just brings it to me, then when I go through my life and I enter very difficult situations, I'm going to be less and less and less likely to do something and to tell a story, and more likely to say, what is the feeling going on here? Let me be with this without condition. Let me not enter the fear. Let me not interfere. No good to interfere here, right? And so, but that will only come through experientially realizing the value of being without condition, because the mental body and the physical world we live in doesn't support any value for it. Most of the planet is running in that way, and this asks us to go that way. To go in, everyone's running out. So we have to show ourselves experientially that being without condition is the most powerful resonance available to us. In fact, it is being, it is the radiance of that sun. Being is God. God is not a noun, God is verb, being. When we align ourselves with the being, that's when we have access to that resonance. And when we bring that being upon that causal point, that's when there's resolution in ways that we can just call miracles. Because when we don't do anything, it's defying the law of physics. Must be a miracle, right? It's the miracle, right? So that's the one point. That's the one point. The other thing is, that's the emotional food. Developing the emotional body, getting the emotional nutrition, and deactivating the causal points of the doing mentality. And so now we're going to finish off by looking at the vibrational food. And it's really important to get this, right? We're told, someone says to us, right, you cannot live on bread and bread alone. Right? And the same person says, oh, let's pray for our daily bread. That's a little confusing. And then the same one says, you know, the lilies are like cool and the birds are like cool. What's your problem? Right? I mean, they're taken care of. What's your problem? Why are you putting up such a fit about being alive? Everything's given to you. Your food is given. So what we do not realize is that every day, we are given food for the day. We have breakfast delivered to us every day, right? We have physical breakfast for this body, but we also have vibrational breakfast. It's called soul food. Get some soul food going on, right? Right. And that soul food, you can't see it, and you can't understand it. It doesn't have a concept to it, because it's coming directly from the vibrational. You can only feel it. And because it's coming, say if I have an event later on in the day, in this day, say for example, I'm coming here to do this presentation this evening. You know what, I can tell you I had a rough day today. Honestly, I had a rough day. I felt exhausted, I felt confused, I had all these feelings going on in my being, but you know what? That was my soul food. That was my nutrition, so it could enliven my being for this evening, right? So the moment I got up today, because it was an important event tonight, I needed to enliven my being, and I'm given the food for that. And the food comes within the first hour of my day. The food is already there. And it comes as, when you wake up in the morning, take a note of how you feel. You're going to find in the first couple of hours of the day, it's usually right there at breakfast. Breakfast is usually served on a silver tray straight away. But otherwise it can come a bit later. You will have feelings come up that are uncomfortable. Just feels odd. Just strangeness. Right? And what we do then is we tell a story. I must have had a bad night's sleep. Oh, it's obviously because, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll do something about it. I can't come to work today because I just feel so, right? Whatever, right? But take a note that when you get up, you will have feelings around you that we've been trained to push away. Get rid of them as soon as possible. You know, if a child spits out its food, it starts to get weak and confused and dazed, right? But the moment that child starts to swallow and digest the food, the health is restored very quickly. We're all given food every day. It's called our daily bread. And it comes to us as vibrations that we can only feel. And our task is to digest it, to eat our breakfast. In fact, if you eat a really good breakfast, you won't need so much of the other breakfast. Because if I'm not eating that breakfast, if I'm not feeling those vibrations that are coming in the morning, those strange and unfamiliar and uncomfortable vibrations, and the reason they're strange and familiar and uncomfortable is they're coming to me for an event that hasn't yet happened. They're coming out of something unknown, and they are nutrition for that unknown. And so there's no point of reference for me. My task is to digest it. Every day I'm given food. Throughout the day I will be given food, treats. Right? And this is not the emotional signature. It's very different. That's why it's very important to do this work and to deal with those emotional signatures that have been following us all our lives and awaken the feeling body so that I have the feeling capacity to feel that food that comes to me in the morning. And in fact, we can all feel it. We all have those experiences where we wake up and we just generally feel uncomfortable. That is food. That is our daily bread. Be with that without condition. Where do I feel it? Sometimes I don't even feel it. I feel it out here. I feel it. Wherever I feel it is valid. Watch what happens when you cradle it. Watch what happens when you be with it without condition. It quickly passes on, turns into something else. It digests. And then when we're digesting that food, watch what happens during the course of the day. How synchronistic events happen. Right? You know you need to do that, someone does it. You know you need to get that, someone brings it. In other words, that food enlivens our being so that we can receive what we require for the day. All the assistance we require to move through our day. It's already given. It's already given. It's just for us to receive it and digest it. Receive it and digest it. So that will enliven our state of being. So going from two sides. First, removing the triggers from childhood, the imprinting. That's one work. Growing the emotional body, eating the emotional food, and then become aware. Train yourself when you get up in the morning for the first hour or so to take a note of how you're feeling. Breakfast is served. Yum yum, eat up. And see, enliven the state of being. And once you're eating your soul food, there's a certain level of health that returns that hasn't been there because I've been trying to get that nutrition from books. I've been trying to get that nutrition from physical food. I've been trying to get that nutrition from people. And that's the nutrition from the vibrational. That's the God food. And the moment, like the baby, the moment I start swallowing it consciously and digesting it, a part of my being is going to be enlivened that hasn't had nutrition for a long time. And will enable me to more, with greater ease, make the transition from the doer to being. Right? And all of this, you'll notice, is about non-interference. There really is nothing to do. There really is nothing to do and everything to be. And that's why, you know, if you want the keys to the kingdom, no one's going to let you in if you're going to go and mess with everything. You shall have the faith to move mountains, but you'll also know the mountains are in the right place, right? And that's what we're being invited into, right? And the opening to that kingdom, the wormhole into that place is here, right? You've seen the pictures. The pictures aren't this. The pictures is this. You've seen that picture, right? Here. So I think that is quite enough food for tonight. Yum yum. And those of you, as I said, that feel after tonight you don't require a one-on-one, release yourselves of that. I'm being serious about that. Don't feel you have to come. And don't come and sit down and ask me and say, now what do we do? Right? But if there are things that you would like to bring and take a look at, please do so. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. And I'm more than happy to sign books. So I'll find a seat over there somewhere out of the way, and you're more than welcome to bring your books.
I have a question. Have you
You know, if that's given to you, act on it.